All right, welcome everyone. We've got lots of people on this one, so I'll give it a minute or so for people to join. And then we'll get going. All right. I'm going to say we go ahead and jump in. And good news is we got modern technology that'll record. So if anybody misses anything, we can watch it again. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Our topic today will be a live demo to show you how to manage and maintain assets with Limble. Speaking to us today is Skylar Rogers. Skylar has been with Limble for 2 years. He's now manager of solutions engineering after having started on the customer success team. And Skylar, having grown up around mechanics his whole life, understands the long work hours and unique challenges that maintenance professionals face. And he loves helping customers create streamlined processes to calm the chaos and build more efficient maintenance operations. So with that, today, what we're going to be learning is how you can effortlessly organize and track your assets in Limble, even if you have thousands of them, how to track your PMs, open work orders, parts, maintenance histories, etc., with all your assets, and how you can automatically generate asset data like MTTR and other important metrics, total cost of ownership, etc. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And Skylar, I'll pass it over to you and we'll jump right in.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And it sounds like we may have a mix of some current users and some that may be new to Limble. So before we jump right into the assets, can everyone see my mouse move? Katie, can you see that just to confirm? Awesome.
Looks good.
So we're going to start by viewing the desktop right here. In the top left, you can see global and custom dashboards. There's some reporting features that we have, and we're going to start out in the locations tab. Now, inside Limble, each location is going to have a manage work and assets, PMs, parts, teams, vendors, and purchasing pertaining to that particular location, right? We're going to concentrate our efforts today on the asset portion of Limble, which is really at its heart our key functionality, right? It's an asset management software. So inside Limble, the assets are structured in a parent-child hierarchy, generally by location, sometimes by system though, right? Depending on your use case. And I have a brief example I've showed by location where I have my building. Within my building, I've got my HVAC system. Within that HVAC system, my actual assets, right? In this case, an RTU unit. So a couple different things. It's one, you can go as many layers deep as you need to on your asset hierarchy tree. Definitely something that makes us unique. So if I have this RTU unit, and I want to be really specific, maybe I want to track the blower motor, I can easily add that in here as a sub asset, right? And continue on down that line. So we do make it very easy to track at a very granular level if needed. As far as being able to add an asset, again, very easy as you saw to add that child asset. But let's say maybe you're coming in with a file of a couple thousand assets or tens of thousands of assets, right? We do have an import option here that we actually have a sample import file for you, and our customer success managers will walk you through how to format your assets and upload them in bulk. So that's the first piece, right? At least the asset structure, how the assets get in there, and how you can utilize the hierarchy there. I want to drill into an asset. We'll use this RTU unit as the example for today. This is what we would call our asset viewer card. Now, as you can see, first of all, at the top left, we do have a picture of the actual RTU unit itself. Then following that, any information that I need tracked, like the make, the model, in this case, I even have a repair manual that I can upload, documents to, warranty information, warranty date tracking, category for HVAC. That's really good for reporting purposes, right? How much money are we spending on our HVAC this month? But let's say something I need to add a custom field, very simple in Limble as well. I have some pre-created, but if I need to create a new field, let's say I want to track the hours on this, I would just label hours, designate it as a number field, and create it, and it's that easy. From there, we can do all sorts of functionality, linking that number field with PMs, work orders. We'll save that for another day. But at least with as far as the asset information goes, again, it's going to be custom and directed at the specific asset that you have, right? Moving on to the plan maintenance portion of your assets. This is where we can track planned and scheduled maintenance. I have a few examples already built out. If you missed the last webinar about the PMs, I'm sure we'll be doing that again, so you can just stay tuned there. But in this case, I can see my actual template and schedule. I can see that I have a PM that's actually open, who it's assigned to, and even the completed PMs for my historical data. Now, again, we're looking at this at the asset level, right? So I do want everyone to know that we do have broader reporting as well, but today we do want to concentrate on really what you can see with one particular asset. So that would be the planned maintenance portion of the assets. Reactive maintenance, same principle here. I can see what open work orders I have, what work orders have been completed. I'm able to search throughout the history of that as well. And then the parts allocated to that asset, you'll see associated parts with my list of parts. Now, one great thing about Limble with your parts in your assets is it will automatically identify and associate the part with the asset as soon as it's used only one time. So you can imagine how much time that saves you guys from matching thousands of parts with thousands of assets, right? Let Limble do the work there, and it's going to show you that list of associated parts, as well as direct vendors. In this case, Granger and McMaster, in this example, are my go-tos for my RTU unit. So I have them listed here. Really a staple as far as information piece for technicians is going to be this log. Now, especially on a reactive maintenance task that happens, the first thing I probably want to do is, hey, what happened to this last? Who touched it, right? We can go to this log and see a timeline of everything that's been completed. I can also filter it, and I can easily pull up the last task, look at all the notes, who did what, right? And view that information very, very easily. So again, that log, very nice to be able to include that data. And if I want to include the children data, which in that case would be the motor I added in this example, I can do that as well if I need a holistic view. Going on to the reporting section. Now, Limble does all of this automatically as you use the system. Each time an asset is entered into our system and you're completing work, this report tab is going to start filling in. You can see that it's going to cover planned versus unplanned work, give you that percentage. How many hours am I actually spending on this asset? Of course, the mean time between failure when I have downtime, mean time to repair, the actual downtime hours, the cost of my parts used, and the total cost of ownership of this asset. And you can see that's broken down into parts, labor, and invoice costs. Then once I get some historical data built up in our system, we'll even be able to give you an average future estimated cost on this asset. So a couple other key things about assets and Limble. The information is very good, but it's only as good as how easy you can access it. We do also have a mobile app where if I needed any of this information, we generate a QR code. Every time you put an asset inside Limble, I could stick this QR code on any piece of equipment I need. If I scanned it with the mobile app, you'll see on the right, I'm able to pull that up on the go and have access to all of that information. And everything that we've gone through today, as far as functionality, is there on the mobile app too. So again, a lot of technicians strictly use our mobile application. It is very easy to use and you do have full functionality. Everything that I've showed you today on the desktop, you can do on the mobile app as well as this work request portal. So those are going to be more of a ticketing system, right? Those of you that are not going to be technicians, users, managers, maybe someone in the front office, facilities, maybe you're providing a service for a customer. You want to hand them something to submit if there's an issue. We have that generated for you automatically as well. So you do have a couple options as far as going through that. Again, today's webinar is usually a little more straight and to the point, and I do, that's basically the functionality of the actual asset itself, but I'm happy to open this up. If anyone has some questions, we can do some Q&A and talk about the structure or anything we've gone through today.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great time for that. And I see that some of you have already found that Q&A function there at the bottom of your screen. So we'll go ahead and open that up. But if for any other questions that you folks have, feel free to toss them in there and we'll get through as many as we can to the top of the hour there. And so go ahead and toss them in there. We'll go ahead and get started with the Q&A here as well. I'll call out this one to start. What is the map function in the info tab? That you showed there on your screen, Skylar.
Yep, great call out there. So we work with a lot of cities, municipalities, and basically the map location function allows me to tag a singular location of the asset, and I can navigate to that if I'm using a phone or a device for exactly where it is. So that was a great question there. But yeah, you can essentially map out all of those.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, the questions are coming in. Let me look through these here real quick.
So I see one that says, what is mean MTTR? That's mean time to repair. How long is it taking from it going down to being completed and back up, basically, right? So we take that average task time essentially and put it towards how long your assets are up and running. And you can do that in the settings as well.
Awesome. Okay, great. Is there a way to upload a PDF map? So this is going to be different than your like actual map functionality, but I'll let you go ahead and show that, Skylar.
Absolutely. So again, we can have any custom fields that you need. I could come in here and create a field called map, for instance, and have that as a document field. And just like that, upload a PDF to it. And there you go. You have your PDF map.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I see Jeffrey. So you asked, does it make sense to have HVAC with RTU children and organize other assets by location? Absolutely. That's the example that I used there. And sometimes, you know, the HVAC may be throughout the whole building. So that is also an example where you could do it by system, right? Production companies will do it by line, like line one, conveyor one, and you could use that same principle on HVAC. Now, if your HVAC centrally located on the main floor, you'd probably want to do like building, floor one, HVAC, and then, you know, your units within the HVAC.
Awesome. I saw a really great one down here about how is MTBF and MTTR measured? Is it based off of time spent versus downtime?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So again, mean time between failure, mean time to repair is going to be that average task time between when it's broke and then how long it takes to get fixed. We're going to put that, I'll click on the settings, for example. Here's the hours of operation per week of my asset, and that's how we'll calculate that and put the failure and the average response time basically towards that. So you can adjust that so it's accurate for you, right? Because sometimes you run your machines more than 40 hours, sometimes not. So whatever makes sense to you.
Awesome. Great question here. If we're coming from a different platform, is there an easy way to import associated parts with assets?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the parts upload page, there's actually a column in Limble that allows you to manually associate the asset. But again, remember, all you have to do is upload your parts and your assets. You put those parts on the PM. If you complete it one time, it will automatically associate the two. Same principle if I have a work order, I create a work order, right? And put a part on that work order. Let's say I have a truck and I need to throw a bearing on it. So I put a bearing as the part, complete that work order. From there on out, that bearing and truck are associated, right? As an asset and part. So yeah, it does do that work for you, but you definitely have the option in the parts upload to make those connections yourself.
Awesome. I'm going to elaborate on this question a little bit. Can you talk through how you would add a lotto procedure to an asset?
So a couple of different things about lockout tagout, right? You could have it on an asset or you could have it on the actual task itself to verify that you did the lockout tagout. So there's two methods I've seen used widely. Whereas, you know, on any work order or plan maintenance, I guess you could have like a checkbox saying, hey, follow lockout tagout procedure. It would be the exact same principle as probably just uploading a document of that lockout tagout, especially if you need to update that document. We could actually go in here, again, trying to keep this short and simple. I could create a lockout tagout text field, for instance, which I already have. Let's go. My lockout tagout. Oh, it's not a text field. But basically, I create a lockout tagout text field. And let's say this was my lockout tagout text field. If it's a live document, Limble is actually going to allow you to hyperlink a live document to that lockout tagout. So that way, if you guys have to update it, make any safety changes to it, you don't have to go in each individual asset. It's just there in real time. If you have like a PDF of your lockout tagout, you could upload it as a document as well. Or you can put that same principle in the task. Totally up to you as far as how you want to run your SOPs. But hopefully that answered that question.
Awesome. Is there a way to add a field to all assets at one time?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I have my assets that are all added in Limble, right? And I need to go back and say, hey, well, maybe I need asset criticality, or maybe I need to update the categories of my assets. I have 1,000 assets. I don't want to go in here. I mean, it's pretty easy to go here and click to add one. But if I want to even streamline that further, I have a bulk actions function where I can update my assets. It downloads the list of assets. I add the information column, go through an Excel real quick, and then reload it, and it's done in minutes. So
That's really awesome.
definitely.
Yeah. Great. This is a good one. They're all great, but I'm curious about this myself. Is there a QR code for quick check in, check out of tools?
Absolutely. So that is a really good question there. Again, in the sake of time, I'm just going to pretend, let's say this motor is a tool, guys, and you create a tool as an asset. So I create a toolbox, my diamond saw, whatever it is, right? I can go in my settings and I can basically say, hey, let this be checked out as a tool. That automatically makes this asset a tool. You'll see this check in, check out button appear now. And all I have to do now is pull this QR code up to look the asset up. I can scan it, check it in, check it out.
Awesome.
Great.
What is the logs function? I think that's the log in the asset viewer. What typically goes in there is the question.
Okay, so if we're talking about, we're referencing this log.
I believe so.
Yeah, so that log is basically a list of everything that's been done. It's a mixed, right, between plan maintenance and work order. It's kind of a quick reference for any time the asset's touched. So if, again, generally a technician, something breaks and it's reactive, I'm going to jump to the log because whether it's a PM or a work order or work request, I can see quickly what was done last, or if there was anything else. Like I could see this hours of operation we opened up was changed and who and did it at what time. So that's really, it's just like your source of truth, your audit trail, basically, for your asset.
Awesome. There's a few questions in here about QR codes, so I'm going to kind of synthesize them and then we'll do a little overview there. So one is, how is the QR code generated? How can you download and print it out? How about stickers? And then the other piece is, who can access it? Who can, take advantage of those QR codes?
Right. So first piece, QR codes are automatically generated as soon as an asset's entered in Limble, right? As soon as you create that asset, you have access to this page. Now, a couple different options. I like personally, because of all the customers we've worked with, the trial and error, Avery labels have worked really well, right? Ultra duty Avery labels can be printed off a regular printer. Basically how that works is you would download the URLs of what assets you need, upload it through the Avery label system, and then bulk print it. We even have a tutorial here on how that works and how those labels work. So again, if you're going to use Avery labels, we have a how-to step-by-step guide on how to print them. Limble is really big on content. Even with your customer success manager, even with our live chat, you're also going to get quite a bit of information like videos and how-to guides. So that would be one piece of it. As far as the access goes, two different QR codes everyone's seeing, right? And that has exactly to do with the access. First, you have a lookup asset, right? That is going to be anyone that's logged in as a user, technicians, managers. The reason why is because that's going to pull up this asset viewer page, and they're going to have access to the log, create a work order, do their planned maintenance. They'll have functionality in the system. Whereas this work request portal, anyone can use it, because if I scan it, this is what pulls up. It's just going to be a request page that is actually directly connected to that specific asset. And this is completely customizable. I'm sure we can talk about reactive maintenance in a future call, but just to give you an idea of what that looks like. And again, it is directly connected with the asset. So it does streamline processes quite well with that function. So did I miss anything on the QRs?
I don't think so. I think that was super comprehensive. Thank you, Skylar.
Perfect.
This is an interesting one. We are looking for a way to have a notification pop up for an asset when it's getting close to its expected lifespan. How could we, use that type of functionality to help streamline the process of replacing?
So let's do a show and tell on that one as well. This one will be good with a visual. Let's say I want to track the depreciation of an asset, right? So in Limble, if I have any sort of cost field, we'll say this RTU unit was $10,000, for instance. As soon as I enter that cost field, you'll see this pop up, set capital depreciation. I can literally enable an automatic capital depreciation schedule. Say I want to salvage this at $1,000, put the lifespan in it, put the expiration of the start date, assign, let's say a technician, manager, or individual, we'll say this goes to the manager. And I can track that on the back end on reporting too. Hey, what assets are coming up towards the end of the life cycle? If I set up the depreciation, it will remind me of exactly when that time is. And I can view the graphically as this depreciates, where we started and where it's going.
Awesome. All right. There was just one about. Yeah, let's tackle this one. If we have a vendor that does PMs, can we import all of that data to keep up with the cost of operating for the unit?
Right. So you can do that manually, right? If I have a planned maintenance, let's say I have this open planned maintenance again, and this is going to a vendor, not me personally. One amazing functionality that we have that's going to save you guys a lot of time. Now, vendor could call me, say I'm done. I could go through, click all this, upload whatever I need. Better yet, we have a share external task function directly to whatever vendor that you're using. Here's my vendors. We'll say it was Granger again. I can share this task. They don't need a license for that. They'll get an email link with this task where they can complete it. They can go in here and they can also upload an actual invoice, make notes, and that's all trackable and streamlined, right? So it's going to depend on your vendor's participation. Either you can complete the task, simply upload the invoice, or you can share the task, depending on your relationship there.
Awesome. How does Limble understand what parts are utilized for, I'll say, assets? So, yeah, so can you talk about how Limble understands that parts are being utilized? So when you use a part on an asset, how does that play in with the parts inventory management function?
Yep. So parts are going to be directly associated with the task. That task is also associated with the asset, right? So there's that connection. So anytime I have like a work order or a planned maintenance and I add a part to that and I use that part, it's going to calculate that cost against the asset on the reporting end. That cost is going to come from when I upload my parts. I will put the cost of the parts and the quantity right in there. And then, of course, we can track those quantities, set up thresholds, and that's probably a separate discussion as well. But
yeah. Awesome. I've seen a couple of questions similar to this, so I want to make sure that we get to this one. When we're talking about linking documents, we have the option of both linking them with a live link or uploading, right, through custom fields. Can you talk through that a little bit?
So it really just depends on the situation of the document. I say that just the use of it, right? Is it going to be something that needs to be updated? Is it going to be something that changes often? If that's the case, we would suggest a live like Google Doc. That way you can update it in real time. Again, hyperlink whatever that you need there. Maybe a lot larger documents, right? We're talking hundreds of pages. I usually suggest a link or a live doc. Anything else PDF wise, I mean, it is going to be quickly accessible there too. So that would be the determining factor. Is it going to be something that we have to go in there and change all the time? Or is it just going to be something that's, this is the source of truth. This is the repair manual, right? They probably aren't going to iterate on that too often. You'll probably be able to upload that as a PDF.
Awesome. I'll do maybe one or two more and then we'll close it out. You guys are doing great. Thank you for all of your questions. This is super awesome. When we duplicate an asset, do all of the parts get duplicated alongside it? And then I would imagine also like PMs and vendors and all of that business. How does that look like when you duplicate an asset?
So when you duplicate an asset, those I'll show you right now. When you duplicate an asset, some of those things do need to be allocated again. You can see it was very easy. I'm going to have all the information fields. The PMs will need to be reassigned. But again, I have access to the templates, right? So it's as easy as copying it from the existing, finding my monthly template, and that's how fast that was. So it's not allocated up front, but again, we can pull it over very quickly because a lot of times when you go through, you may have different PMs, even though you're duplicating an asset. It may have a different PM schedule. And it's going to be the same case with the parts. As soon as you use the parts, though, it will automatically associate again. So the parts are generally going to be a lot of times on that PM that we reassign. So once we complete that PM one time, any parts will automatically be reassociated with this new copy of an asset, if that makes sense.
Totally. Awesome. I'll do one more question and then we'll close it up for the day. Can you export all of the data of a singular asset, like exporting any of the info that's connected to it, like you just showed?
Yep, absolutely. There's multiple ways of doing that, but you own your data, right? Down to the asset level, of course. So if you want to make a historical like widget in our custom dashboards, you certainly could come do that. Like if I needed any of the data in the RTU or the reports, there is that print the reports tab. I can go into the log as well, and I can also print that log. If I want specific like completed work order, let's say definitely a typical use case for this is an audit, right? Hey, show me the last 6 months of XYZ PMs on this asset. We could easily have a report in the custom dashboards for that, where literally with one click of a button, it would export it to Excel, or you could bulk print each task individually in a PDF, send it off to the auditor and move on with your life, basically. So that's your options as far as printing. But yes, that was a long-winded yes.
Awesome. Love that. Fantastic. Thank you, Skylar, so much. Folks, thank you for your participation today and allowing us to show you a little bit more deeper dive on some of these things. If you are a Limble user and you have more questions, be sure to reach out to your CSM or to our inbound support team. They are super awesome. They love to help, and they're also super, super fast. And then the other thing I want to say too is if you are not yet a Limble user and you want to learn more, set up a meeting to talk with a product specialist and we can show you how Limble would work in your unique use case and go through all the things that we talked about today and any other questions about any other feature sets that you have as well. Skylar, any final words from you?
No, get in front of us. If you haven't talked to us before, chances are you could run into me again. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And again, we're based off keeping it simple, straightforward, but as you can see, there is a robustness to the system. So I'm excited to share that with you guys and hope to talk to everyone soon.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll do it for today. Thank you everybody for joining us and we'll see you again soon.